Noob School.
Welcome to Noob School, episode number 126. If you're looking for John, I am so sorry to disappoint you. I'm Rebecca, but John is here today as my guest. We decided to flip the table a little bit.
Right.
John gets to interview all of these incredible people, but I frankly think John is an incredible person, and we kind of need to hear your story.
Good.
So let's kick this right off. I want to know about how you grew up and how that influenced who you became later in life.
Well, that was not on the handout sheet beforehand.
I know.
You
I
just
know.
thought of that.
I
You
like
just
to
thought of
throw
that.
people off a little bit.
Well,
Yeah.
seeing my rough and gruff, exterior today, you probably would never know, but I grew up a very privileged way. My mom was South abroad born, and so half my family is kind of from that part of the world, and they like to say that I didn't know lemons had seeds until I went off to college. Everything was kind of done very nicely for us. So we were born that way and got to go to good schools. But also my mom is tough, and my dad was not raised in Charleston. So we all played sports, and we had to compete. We were expected to compete and do well. We're expected to do well in school.
Sure.
And we're expected to be polite.
Different kind of pressure.
Yeah, different kind of pressure. So I kind of grew up in that world, and very very fortunate, but not I wouldn't say sheltered. And one thing that really helped me, because there are people who grow up that way who are sheltered and never kind of get out of that shelter, is since I played basketball, I was at the YMCA, which had the basketball players from all over town. So I met people, going back to 8th grade that ended up being great players at Greenville High School and J.O. Mann and Wade Hampton and East Side and some of those schools. So I have friends from all those schools as a result of playing a sport that was outside of, tennis and golf.
Yeah, sure. And I have to say, I was going to save this for later in the interview, but I can't resist. I heard, legend, that you played against Michael Jordan.
Well, that's true, of course. Everyone knows that.
Of course.
You can see it. You can see it on my LinkedIn profile. It's on there if you drill down a little bit. But we did play against Michael Jordan twice. So his freshman and sophomore year, our team got to play against them. And two things. First of all, he wasn't the Michael Jordan he became. He was still 18 years old, very skinny, but he was incredibly fast. You couldn't block him out. You couldn't even put a hand on him. He was just like a cougar. It was like, I tell people it was like a goat trying to guard a cougar. That's about the way I felt with him. But we were out to jump center the first time that we played them. And they had several other NBA All-Stars. They had Jordan, they had Sam Perkins, they had Brad Daugherty, and they had James Worthy. And they had a little guy named Jimmy Black, who was like the point guard, who did not become a great NBA player. So we go to jump center, and the other tall guy on the team, there's only two of us, looks at me and he goes, "Who do you want to guard?" And I said, "I'll take Jimmy Black." So nobody wanted any part of them, but it was a real privilege to play against them. They were amazing.
Sure. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So Michael Jordan was one of my role models
Really?
growing up. Before we had Caitlin Clark. Incredible times.
I love
Incredible
her.
times.
I love her too.
Who were your role models as you grew up, and how did they influence who you became?
On the tennis side of things, I played a lot of tennis also. I liked McEnroe. He was kind of bratty, but I liked the fact that he kind of broke out of the country club mode of everything so genteel and nice shot and everything. He was more of a fighter, and I wouldn't encourage anyone to yell and scream like he did, but I liked the fact that he was a fighter, and I liked the way he played. So he was kind of a tennis role model. On basketball, I think about sometimes some of my role models were so darn good. I mean, they were so good. Like even the team, if you go back and look at the team that was the Olympic team around the time that we were playing in the 80s, it was just, Isaiah Thomas and Larry Bird and Michael Jordan and just Charles Barkley, just like all these people, and we're supposed to be competing with them. It's almost like it was a tough head trash thing to get over. That those, I didn't get over it till much later, but at the time it was like, well, this is a whole different thing. But to get over the head trash, I would have said those people weren't always Charles Barkley. They weren't always Michael Jordan. And all these other people, they weren't always that. They were moving towards something, and they got very good. But I think a lot of us, like my basketball, I worked really hard at it, and at some point during college, I just kind of like went on cruise control. Huh. I just said, well, this isn't going to happen, so let's just play and enjoy the game and, play your last couple years. And somebody like a Larry Bird, if he would have believed what he should have probably believed, he never would have been any good at all.
That's probably true.
I mean, he was slow.
He trash talked a lot.
Yeah, he was slow. He wasn't tall enough to be big. He couldn't jump. I mean, and he just, something about his mindset made him unbelievable.
So that's really interesting because, we've talked a lot about sports so far, but I'm hearing some similar themes, tenacity and mindset and determination. And do you think the qualities that you sort of sought after in sports and learned to grow into in sports helped you as you moved into sales? Like, what was the transition?
Yeah.
When you said you realized, like, basketball, it wasn't going to be it for you.
Yeah.
Like, what was the switch? What was the transition?
Well, business is a game. Sales is certainly a game. And so when I decided to not play anymore, I thought sales would be I couldn't enter as a CEO, so I figured sales was my proper entry point, and then it became, about preparing, hustle, celebrating wins, high fives. It's kind of very similar to a basketball game or any kind of sport. I think when we recruit salespeople, we don't always hire people who played big-time sports or college sports, but we look for them, because we know they're going to be competitive.
I'm interested about something else you said there, which is, you're hyper competitive, you're pushing, you're working really hard, and then you realize this isn't it, and you go to cruise control. Do you see that in sales as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you do for those people that are like, I'm gonna dial it in, I'm gonna cruise on in?
Well, I think you do two things when you have a larger sales organization, and some people are just kind of making the number and they're happy and whatever. Part of you says, it's okay with me, right? You're a VP of sales, and you got someone who kind of makes their number all the time. They don't kill it. They don't cause you any trouble. You're like, I'll take a lot of those, okay? Because I can't have all crazy people. So, but with those people, I think, for your benefit and theirs, it's your responsibility to try to coach them up to what difference would it make in your life if you were making 20% over quota? And would you be able to buy that lake house or you send your kid to a better school or something? Otherwise, if you just want to keep making quota until you're 65, fine with me. I'll take 100 of them.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
So I think you can coach them up, but I wouldn't beat them up about it. I wouldn't say, another quota? You could have done so much better. I wouldn't do that. The other thing you can do is you can hire to a different spec. So when you're hiring someone, there's different tests you can give them that show their proclivity
like
towards
a disc profile or something, or
a disc or a Colby or something, an AQ that will show this person will not stop. Okay, they're not going to make just quota and be happy. They're going to want more and more and more. There's tests you can give that are economically motivated, like who's the highest, who wants the money the most.
Sure.
And I've had several people score so high on that, the testing company calls me and says, watch out for Rebecca. She might steal.
Right, I'll do anything.
Yeah,
I'll
do
get
anything.
it. I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
No matter the.
And at some
path.
point that becomes too much is a problem because
Sure.
they will steal from each other and stuff like that. But I think also in their background, like you see what else they've done. You know, the people who are most likely to just be phenomenally good in your company are the ones that were phenomenally good in high school and phenomenally good in college.
Just a consistent
And then
pattern.
now they're just not gonna not be phenomenally good.
Right.
You know, they're gonna make the highest score, and they're gonna be the president of the class, and they're gonna be the president of their sorority, and, you know, captain of the lacrosse team, and,
Sure.
you know, and,
Sure.
and you say you pick those kind of people out, and you're like, not only do we want to hire them, but we better get them on a track to do more here, or we're going to lose them.
Retain them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a long answer, but that's how I handle that.
No, it's a good answer. What about those that like? I mean, you just said you want to hire the person that's consistent, but life isn't consistent. Like
Right.
we've all had setbacks. I wonder if you had a particular setback in your life where you would have been like, oh my gosh, nobody's going to hire me, or this isn't right for me, or some massive thing that just sort of pulled you out, and what it looked like to step back and go, wait, maybe I'm not as good as I thought, and then what drew you back in? What allowed you to keep pushing?
I think this answers your question. Probably one of the biggest things that happened to me in business was we had a public company that we were growing, you know, nice and steady for 20 years. We had a nice, strong growing of the company, and we were public. And some little thing, some auditor found some little thing in China, like a tiny office in China. And they said, well, this triggers this thing. We've got to do a deeper dive. And so they would dig. Well, we better check out all of Asia now. Okay. Now we got to check out Europe. They literally, I think they just were milking us. They were using kind of arcane rules, you know, stringent rules
Sure.
to milk us for just exorbitant fees for 2 years. And somewhere, I'm in charge of sales.
That's
so
brutal.
somewhere
Yeah.
along this line, not only are your employees worried about what might happen, like someone did something wrong and, you know, whatever, we literally got delisted because they would not provide an audit. An audit. So they said, well, there's nothing wrong here. We just can't provide an audit until we finish our investigation. So we're literally on the pink sheets, from NASDAQ to the pink sheets. And that was that moment where I stepped away and I was like, holy cow, you know. And then I said, well, how about this? Why don't we just pretend like nothing happened? Just tell the sales rep this is just a bunch of BS. 99% of the customers won't even check. They want to know if we're going to help them or not.
Right.
It won't even come up.
Right.
Let's just push to make this quarter's number, see if anything happens.
Stay consistent.
So I went from that kind of reflective, like jumping off the bridge moment to like, how can we attack this? And sure enough, we made that quarter's number.
Amazing.
And then we made the next quarter's number. And we were selling people like Dell Computer a corporate deal. And I'm out there. And I'm just waiting for them to say, so Mr. Sterling, what is this about, you know? Nothing.
Nobody checked.
No, they don't. People don't really care.
This is true.
They don't care.
This is true.
They don't
This
care. They
is
care
true.
about themselves. How can you help me?
They care about their whys, right? It's the same thing when you're hiring people.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have the person that's motivated by money. You're
Yeah.
gonna have the other person that's motivated by whatever they can give back.
Right.
So what's your why? What is it that you do? Why do you do what you do? What drives you?
I enjoy accomplishing things, like projects, whether it's a business project or a nonprofit I'm helping, or a person, or music, or real estate, moving or something. Anything that's on my list that I want to get done, I enjoy kind of pecking away at it and trying to make it happen, and then it happens, and you cross it off the list. And you
It's a little dopamine
Just
there?
work on the little tiny dope. My dopamine probably comes in thirds. The first third is when it goes on the list, because I feel like
Interesting.
I'm going to do this. You know,
I
you have
love
that
this. Okay,
immediate
yeah.
good feeling.
Yeah.
And that's why I've learned this. You don't want to share that with other people, because that's where you get all your dopamine from. If I'm telling you all about my 1 month, I'm going to Argentina for a month in September.
Okay.
And I'm going to do this and this and this. Got it all lined up. Got a free place to stay.
Yeah.
Hell, I've already
It's
got the dopamine.
It's out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, I get a third putting on the list, and then a third as you peck away and make it happen, and then a third when it's actually done. But by then, it's almost all gone now. There's no more dopamine
It's
left.
the progress. It's the
process.
It's the exciting.
Yeah.
The excitement of writing it down.
Yeah.
The excitement of being in it, and then you're like, okay.
So the podcast is one of those things I love doing, and my coaching business is something I love to doing. Each one of my clients in the coaching business is a project. And then I've got my Foxfire business, and I've got my music, which you're such a big fan of.
I am a big fan of. I'm excited to hear you.
Yeah.
Got a big gig coming up.
That's right.
Multiple gigs coming
That's
up.
right.
Yeah.
The new Bohemian Hotel and Passerelle
nice.
have both been very good about booking our bands. So
Well, I am genuinely looking forward to that. And as long as we're talking about that, tell me about your other interests outside of sales, because we know you.
other interests.
We know you here. But how do you balance your work life with, and I hate these questions about work-life balance because I'm not sure that I really believe in any work-life balance.
Yeah,
But
it's all life, right?
It's all life.
Yeah,
That's
work
it.
is just a little part
That's
of
it.
life. I
What else
worked
can you
very
do?
hard at, so I think it was Seneca who said if you want to live a full life, then you should live every day as if it is a full life. Like every day should be a lifetime.
That's a good one.
And so I work hard to schedule every day with where I'm working on in some way on anything that's a project of mine. And those projects would include, longevity is a project, like exercising. So
That's
I do
true.
that early in the morning,
Okay.
every day, and I will work on my trabaje es mi español.
Muy bien.
So I work on my Spanish every day. That's one of my little projects.
I can speak one phrase in Spanish really well.
What is it?
Necesito 3 margaritas sin hielo con
Tres
sal, por favor.
margaritas?
Tres.
Seis.
3 margaritas sin hielo con sal.
Oh, okay.
No ice.
No ice.
Lots of salt.
Straight up.
Yeah,
Okay.
straight up.
So I work on that. I work on Spanish. I work on saxophone every day. I work on Foxfire every day. I work on the coaching business every day. I've got some, wonderful friends I spend time with. I got some great family and grandkids. And one thing I do that I really love, probably one of my highlights of the year, is the first week of July, whoever the little grandkids are, or their cousins or whoever, we have like a camp. So we do a camp up in the mountains, and I'm the camp director.
Oh, please tell me you're teaching them like
Big
the
Poppy.
Noob School.
Well, last year
Material.
we made them learn how to do public speaking. So maybe we should have you up there to help
Please,
this year. Yeah.
I would love that. What
Yeah.
what a great talent to.
I think
introducing
we do a
to-
lot of fun stuff. We do a lot of fun stuff. We learned how to do the double Dutch jump rope last year. Do you know how to do that? Can you do that?
As a kid, I did that,
You got
and I
that thing
haven't
going?
done that since. I won't tell you how many years. It's been
Well,
at
we
least
would
30.
we would play the double Dutch bus song over and over again. And then we would try to learn how to. But we would do fun stuff. But we always make them do one thing per camp that is something that they can take on in the future.
How long is that rope so that you can get in there? I just have to know.
It's pretty long.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty long.
Are you participating fully in each of these events?
Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm a great double Dutch jumper, but I'm working on it.
Hey, listen, it keeps your brain young. Doing
Yes,
all of these
that's
things,
right.
learning every
That's right.
skill every year, or a new skill every year. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, we do some hiking off road, off path in the woods, but anyway, that's one of the fun things I do, and that's again one of the things I've learned is if you want to do anything on a regular basis, you got to schedule it.
Oh.
As you get older, right? We have more things going on.
Yeah.
We're married, and we have lots of friends, and
All
we're
about
involved in.
obligations.
So, like I've got some friends that I've played golf with every year for 14 years now. Here's the deal. When we were in Austin, Texas, just a few weeks ago, and at the last night's dinner, we said, "Okay, pull your phones out.
There it is.
What is next year's date, and where are we going?"
Yep.
And it's on the calendar now.
Yep.
So that's another thing, in terms of managing life and time is what is it you want to do?
Yeah, priorities,
Yeah.
right? Because this is I don't know if I talked to you about this on the last podcast or not, but I seem to remember doing that. Priorities
Priorities.
is not a reality.
No.
Right? Like there is only one priority.
Priority.
Right? It
Yeah.
wasn't plural until the
Right.
1960s, I think.
Uh-huh.
It's a priority.
Yeah.
So then what's your priority right now?
Yeah.
What's your next priority? That's fine, but it's
Right.
going to have to be later.
Right.
They can't overlap in time.
Right.
And I think, to your point, if you don't calendar it, some other priority is going to sneak in there.
Oh, yes. People are going, listen, when we were building our company, I had at one time about 100 salespeople. And so I would get to work really early.
Mm-hmm.
I would stay really late, and we would never do anything during that time that was not related to selling software. Never.
Yep.
We sold the company. Like a week later, I'm going to lunch with people, and my wife says, "Do you have time to go pick up the laundry?" I'm like, "Well,
Yeah, I got plenty of time.
I guess I do." All of a sudden, I turn into an errand man. And so, you have to protect your time. If you want to be helpful around the house, that's up to you. But you just have to decide. Otherwise, like you said, someone is going to take your time.
Especially with the amount of social media and AI.
Yeah.
So I want to go into that
Okay.
with you because
Right.
I see AI this next big front. We've had AI for years.
Yeah.
But suddenly everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
How are we using this in business? How are you using AI in business? Are you seeing any trends? Are you scared of it? Are you excited for it? What
Well,
does that
certainly
look like?
not scared of it. I mean, I think technologies have come along in our even in our lifetimes that people think is going to change everything. I mean, this is a real old one, but people thought the computer was going to ruin everything.
Right.
No more accountants.
Sure.
Don't need any more accountants because we
Right.
got the computer now to do the work. I mean, it's so dumb. So people have to use their brains to decide how to use information. And so I think they'll continue to do that with ChatGPT and the AI stuff.
Sure.
You can use it I use it really as an advanced Google now. I'll ask it a more specific question, and we're actually looking for a company to buy now. And I'll just say, hey, give me all these types of companies and so and so. And it's just unbelievable.
Huh. And but there's limitations too, right? Like it's only pulling from what, like a year ago? Is that true? I don't know.
Well, I know at one time that was true. I thought that had changed.
I mean,
but I
it's
don't
changing
know.
so fast.
Yeah.
This is the other thing
Yeah.
I'm realizing is I'm recognizing that I'm part of the demographic who can easily fall behind in technology now, right?
Right.
So I'm looking at your camps and I'm like, when do the kids start teaching us stuff, right? Can
Right.
I come for one of those?
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you have a technology question, I've learned, ask the youngest person
In the
to
room.
look at it. Yeah.
That's true.
And they'll be like, oh, tink, tink, tink.
That's true.
Yeah. So one other thing I want to say, there's two other people that really that were mentors or people that I modeled some of the stuff I do after. And one was Ted Turner, who's long since kind of retired now.
Sure.
But he was a beast. I mean, I don't know if you ever read his biography, but he was a wild Southern guy who went to Brown, and he just hated it, and he got kicked out after less than a year because he was just a wild Southern guy up there in this this Brown University, and he came back to work for his dad, and his dad unfortunately died. And had kind of worked out a deal. The father had kind of worked out a deal to sell his billboard company to this big billboard company who was buying up whatever down in Atlanta. And they came to get the keys, And Ted went out in front with a shotgun and said, "Nope, no deal." and they backed down, and he kept the company. Huh. But that he was a bold guy. And I would like to be that bold. I don't know if I'm about the shotgun, but he was he was a strong guy, and he was very very willing to take on big projects and make big bets. I mean, he was early on professional wrestling.
Oh, interesting.
He started that Superstation, the first kind of cable satellite station, and he was looking for programming, and so he started putting wrestling on and a bunch of other stuff, but then came up with CNN and some other things. But I enjoy reading about him and how he took things on. And one thing he said, which is interesting, is he liked to compete in big markets like network news. So he took on NBC, CBS, and ABC. They're like, how would you do that? Why would you do that? And he goes, first of all, there's only 3 of them. If you're in the advertising business, there's 1 million advertising agencies.
That's right.
There's only 3.
Might as well go for the big guys.
And they're dumb. They're run by big, dumb, overpaid people who want to keep their job. And so they're not going to do any of the
Slow to
stuff.
adapt.
Yeah. No. He wanted to go 24/7 and, be in Atlanta versus New York. And so it's just a lot to learn. I just have seen over and over again, even with our data stream company, that, you don't believe the hype that someone else is better than you, or because you're from Greenville, you can't compete with someone in California.
I love that. And that's one of the things that I would say belongs in your biography. So we're talking about Ted's biography. What belongs in your biography? What do you think? Oh, actually, I want to make this a 2-part question. What do you think most people misunderstand about you? And what do you think your mentees would say about you the way you just talked about Ted?
I think most people, because I'm a very friendly person and a pretty relaxed person, don't know all the stuff I'm working on.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't go around talking about it a lot. And so people will be like, oh, so how you like being retired? And I'm like, well, it's okay. It's okay.
I work 7 days a week.
Yeah, I work. So I love to work. So I work on the project 7 days a week, that's for sure. But I've long since not gone to the office every day like it used to be.
Sure.
Like, you'd go in the morning, leave, I think those days are over for most people. So I think that will be one thing, is that my work day starts at 5 a.m. I start working then, and I try to get some work done on all those projects before noon, and then in the afternoon I'm usually like meeting with people and trying to move something down the field.
That's interesting, and I wanted to give you a gift of self-awareness too, because I think you're an incredibly self-aware human, and that's not something that I would have said, and it lands perfectly. That's absolutely true. And what I was thinking in my head you're going to say is that you're intimidating. Because you for all that you have accomplished, like, you look at John on paper, you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know. And you're not a small human being. And yet you sit down and you have conversations with people like me that are like, I don't know what I have to offer, but like, let's go. Let's have this conversation. You're willing to just kind of give people your time and invest in them. And I think that is such a gift. Yeah. So I think that's something people could easily get wrong about you.
Yeah, probably. I appreciate that. That's nice. I do try to be kind to people.
I'd say you're pretty kind.
Yeah. I think it's important. It's important. I think it's a gift you're kind of giving yourself when you're kind to other people.
I think that's true, and I think often in sales that gets overlooked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the mentees, I think they would say that he really cared about them and wanted them to have, not just be successful in that job or in business, but to have a successful life. But he would unfortunately have to fire you if you didn't make your number. And I've had that conversation with people before too that are still my friends today. I mean, that's the job. But but that so I mean, we still have we had again about 100 people on the team. Sold the company in 2006, and we still have a Christmas party every year. where we have 50 to 75 people show up. And it's just
impressive.
amazing. We might not talk to each other during the year, but everyone just kind of shows up at the place. And it's not even like John's paying for some grand party or something. It's like literally, like last year, we just went to the Bohemian and just met up there. Everyone had their own tabs and stuff, so it wasn't fancy. It's just like, let's just meet here.
You've created community.
As a community.
Yeah.
And they do help each other. They hire each other. Some of them married each other. So it's a great community, and I continue to do that today. Not on that scale, but with individuals that I find that I think are special that I can help.
I love that. I love what a great answer. Yeah. What is one question that you wish people would ask you more?
Would you come help me with my sales team?
There you go, John. Would you come help me with my sales team?
Yes, I'll be happy to.
Fantastic.
We can talk about it.
Good.
I think I've been thinking a lot lately. Can you help me figure out a plan for happiness?
Ooh.
Like, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
How can I be happy? Yeah. And I've been working on that and studying a little bit, and certainly for myself. I've got a coach that I work with, and just it'll be 7 or 8 different areas. How are we doing on a scale of 1 to 10 basis? And where are we short? And what can we do about it? It's like, don't just whine. Okay, oh my God, on let's just say on the relationship with my brother, it's a 4 out of 10. Dan, there's not, and so my coach would say, okay, so that's the number one thing on your list. Everything else is fine. I'm like, yeah, well, let's work on some ideas for how to fix that. What can we do? Not just immediately, but like today, next week, next Saturday, repeating basis. What can we do to make this better? And so hopefully over time that comes up. And so I did mine the other day. I did my little circle on a 1 to 10 basis. And it was like all 7s. And I thought, oh my God. I kind of like that, because I think if you get like a 9 or a 10, it's like you're getting too whacked out about that one thing.
That's interesting.
Like sometimes I'll be working with someone and they'll just be bragging about that they're doing a triple triathlon, Ironman or something. Sorry, Rebecca.
I'm joking.
And they're working on it every morning and every night and whatever. It never fails.
Yep.
That's not sustainable. And they get hurt, and something else suffers.
And inevitably, they're doing that to cover up for some of the losses in other areas.
Right. I didn't think about that.
They're
doing it to, okay.
Yeah, a lot of endurance sports actually are tightly tied to trauma.
Oh.
It's really interesting.
Like,
it's a total aside. Just grit through it, yeah. But I want to come back to your comments about 7s, because I actually had a coach, and on a scale of 1 to 10, you're not allowed to use a 7. So are you more an 8 or are you more a 6? Because that's a nice neutral, I'm good. I'm
good. Yeah.
So I want to challenge you in that, because I think that's a.
There would be some 8s and some 6s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
all
right.
Yeah, but I like that. I like that idea, and maybe we could do an app together. Another app. The first one didn't work for us.
In case anybody doesn't know the backstory, you just need to go back and watch my episode with John.
Yeah,
I knocked on his door a lot, but all right, I've got some rapid round. Okay. Are you ready for these?
Yeah, I'm ready.
These are kind of fun. All
Let's
right,
do it.
We'll go easy first.
Okay.
Favorite book?
Favorite book is Atlas Shrugged.
Oh, such a good one.
Ayn Rand, and I highly recommend everyone reads it. It's about 1,000 pages, and the print's kind of small, but it is a life-changing book.
Couldn't agree more.
Not just because of what you learn from it, but because you just read a 1,000-page small print book. And we used to tell people when we hired a lot of salespeople, in the first month, they had to read that book. And I said, if you don't read the book, then you're fired. Some people got fired.
That's a good sorting
They
wand.
couldn't read the book. I'm like, 30 days, what is that, Rebecca? 1,000 divided by 30. That's like 30. You got to read, how many?
You're asking the wrong person. I'm not a math whiz.
30 times 10 is 300. So you have to read 90 pages a day.
About 100 a day, yeah. Right, for 30 days.
You can do that.
Yeah. It's very doable.
Hour and a half?
It's very doable.
So what they were telling me was his job wasn't as important enough to him.
That's right. You make time for what's valuable.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, be gone. And some of them, I'm sure, skimmed it a little bit and came up with a good story. I'm okay with that.
All right.
But
Yeah.
just don't tell me no.
Fair enough. Have you ever received an insult that was actually you were kind of proud of?
Oh boy, let's see. Yeah, I mean, there was a guy that we used to play basketball with, who played for Furman, who was kind of my nemesis. I'm sure he's a very nice guy, but I've never talked to him. But we would bang and beat each other up for 4 years. And a year or two after, maybe 2 years after we finished basketball, he was talking to my wife. She was a travel agent. And she goes, well, I'm Jennifer Sterling. He goes, Sterling? You don't know John Sterling, do you? And she goes, yeah, it's my husband. She goes, oh, he was rough. So,
I'll take that.
I took that as a compliment.
Yeah, I'd take that.
Yeah.
I'd take that. I love it. Yeah. All right. You have an animal sidekick for one day. Any animal. What is it?
Well, it would be my dog, Poppy. Yeah, of
Tell us
course.
about Poppy.
Poppy's a Boston Terrier. It's my third Boston Terrier. I've had one since I was about maybe 5 or 6 years old. And she's about 13 now, so she's getting up there in age. But she's definitely the queen of the house. She knows she can do whatever she wants. She will jump up on the dining room table after dinner when we stand up. She'll jump up there and start grazing around, and we'll like, Poppy, what are you doing? She'll look at us like, what are you doing? What are you looking at me for?
My space, my table.
And she also, I'll say, Poppy, listen, no more of this sleeping in the bed stuff. And so I'll put her little bed down there. I'll say, you sleep there tonight. She'll look, she'll be in that bed asleep. Middle of the night, I wake up. She is under the covers with her head like laying on my pillow right there looking at me like, here I am. So anyway, she comes with me when I play the saxophone outside. And so, yeah, she's my little buddy.
Love it. All right, last one's a two-parter.
Okay.
Who plays you in the movie and their famous line that they say that is just you. Your one line, your go-to
What the
line.
hell?
Maybe it's that. What the?
Well, I would say, without the mustache, Tom Selleck.
I can see it. I like it. I can see it.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, we're the same height anyway. And then, what would he say? I think he would say, let's do it.
Let's do it. I think that is a great line.
Yeah.
It's as classic as Arnie's
Let's
I'll Be
do it.
Back. Like,
Yeah.
here's John Sterling. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Why not?
What a great line.
Yeah.
What a great character.
Yeah.
John, what other questions am I neglecting to ask you that the world needs to know?
Well, I'm certainly willing to be helpful to any company out there that wants their revenue to go up.
For sure.
I don't know if there's any out there that want more sales.
Most companies don't need revenue to increase.
Yeah, but I like
better
doing
sales.
that. I like doing it. So they can contact me, John at sterlingsales.co. So that's one thing. Individuals as well. I've got a weekly training class they can join.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think just that. I'm willing to help people any way I can, and I think you've done a fine job. Anything ever happens to me, maybe you take over the Noob School.
Let's do it.
All right, you got it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh, I forgot. Let's do it. Let's do it. God.
Hey, listen, nothing's gonna happen to you. I need you running this for as long as
You don't have
possible
time
because
to
you
do the Noob School.
You know what? I don't have the talent yet.
Yet.
Yes,
Let's
I'm
do
hanging
it.
around you, and I'm trying to develop myself. So
You're doing great.
thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to interview the legend that is.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Great
All right.
to spend time with you.
All right.